For 50 years, the Golden Gate Bridge has spanned the entrance to one of the world's most famous harbors, San Francisco Bay. Like London's Big Ben and the Eiffel Tower of Paris, the Golden Gate and the cable cars have come to symbolize the beauty and romance of San Francisco, the city by the bay. Some 30 miles north in the Napa Valley lies some of the world's richest vineyards. The vines of Sonoma and surrounding towns feed over 400 wineries, producing vintages that slumber in century-old casks for years before emerging to spread the fame of the Bay Area far and wide. Sonoma is also the home of one of America's most challenging racetracks, Sears Point International Raceway. Today, Sears Point will challenge the world's most exotic sports cars. The Golden Hills of Sonoma are baking under yet another unseasonably warm Northern California summer sun. Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN Racing and analyst Lynn St. James, welcoming you back to Sears Point International Raceway for the second event in our live weekend doubleheader of International Motorsports Association Camel GT Racing. Now, if you're with us for yesterday's combined GTO-GTU event in which Lynn drove, you know that the stories of the day were hot weather and hard racing. And Lynn, in today's combined prototype and Camel Lights event, I expect we're going to see more of the same.
Heat is definitely going to be a factor, but also the driver's ability to cope with that heat. Sears Point is nothing but a series of high-speed turns, which means the ground effects really come into play, and that holds the car down. When the ground effects are working, the driver's having to work even more. So I think the key here is the fitness level of the drivers, the ability for the drivers to cope with that heat. We've got two competitors, Jochen Mass and Bob Wallach, who may try to go it alone. It's been done before, but I don't know in about 100-degree temperature outside with probably 140 inside whether that'll work or not. So I think those are the cars to watch, but fitness is going to be a key here.
Well, this very challenging 2.5-mile racetrack played a big role in qualifying for today's race. For more on that, let's go meet our pit crew for today's race, starting with Gary Lee.
Thank you, Bob. Lynn, good afternoon. Well, with an advantage of over 200 to 300 horsepower in qualifying, we have come to expect the Corvette or the Nissan to start on the pole or at least the front row. But this racetrack here at Sears Point is the great equalizer. It's a handling track. It diminishes the importance of all the high horsepower. Consequently, we have an all-Porsche front row. On the pole, the Lowenbrow 962 of Chip Robinson and Al Holbert. And outside, the German ace, Jochen Mass, in the Bayside Disposal, number 86. Now, although Mass qualified well and expects to go the distance alone, his team car didn't fare so well. It's starting way at the back of the pack. And here with more on that story is our colleague, Marty Reed.
Thanks, Gary. Hello again, everyone. You know, when race weekend started, it was supposed to be the team of Elliott Forbes Robinson and Hurley Haywood driving the number 83 Nissan GTP. But on Friday, Hurley Haywood quit the team, citing two reasons. One, he said he preferred driving a Porsche 962, and also he cited internal problems within the Nissan camp. He would not elaborate any further than that, but he has joined Bruce Levin in the number 85 Bayside Porsche 962. But so far, the move has not paid off. Yesterday, Bruce Levin qualified the car 18th on the starting grid. 9 Camel Light cars will be in front of him. It means it's going to be a long day for Hurley Haywood and Bruce Levin.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. 35 drivers and 20 cars preparing to take the green flag in round 12 of the Camel GT season from Sears Point, coming right up. Today's ESPN coverage of the Ford California Camel Grand Prix is brought to you by B.F. Goodrich TA Radials. We make your car perform. By Busch Beer, the beer with a taste as smooth as its name. By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? We'll be back to give you a closer look at this 2.5-mile Sears Point course, courtesy of Lynn St. James, and set the starting lineup for you right after these important messages.
B.F. Goodrich Update 4 with Bob Strange, test engineer. Subject +1, +2.
One relatively easy way to improve the handling of your car is to go to what we call the +1 or +2 concept. This concept involves going to a larger diameter wheel while maintaining the same overall diameter of the tire wheel package. What we have here is 2 tires that are exactly the same diameter. One tire is mounted on a 14-inch wheel, one tire is mounted on a 15-inch wheel. As you can see, the tire mounted on the 14-inch wheel has a higher sidewall height than the tire mounted on the 15. This lower sidewall height enables this particular tire to handle better in terms of steering response and overall cornering capability. It can, however, stiffen the ride. Your B.F. Goodrich dealer can help you determine what the optimum tire wheel package is for your particular car and driving style.
TA radios from B.F. Goodrich, tested tough to make your car perform.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
What I find impressive about Ford cars these days is not just the quality, but the variety, especially their performance cars. Cars like the Escort GT, the award-winning Mustang GT, and Motor Trend's Car of the Year, the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. These cars perform. They're comfortable, quick, and they handle. And you don't have to have driven racing cars to appreciate that.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
3 nevers to being a winning coach. Never let the press pick your starting quarterback. Never take a last place team lightly. And really, no matter what the score, never let them see you sweat.
That's what Dry Idea aerosol is all about. Maximum control. It keeps you drier than the leading aerosol.
Everyone feels pressure. Winners don't let it show.
Dry Idea. Never let them see you sweat.
2.5 miles around with 12 turns and lots of passing at 7 and 11. The Sears Point International Raceway course is most famous for that bottom number, the elevation change. And for more on the course, let's take a lap with Lynn.
As we start our lap around Sears Point, we're actually at the point where we reach the top speed of about 175 miles an hour. Then we're on the brakes for the uphill left with a quick downshift and a real tricky right-hand turn, too. The track falls out from under you here, and it's real easy to get wheel spin. A quick shift to third gear, tap the brakes, and set the car for the uphill left and right-hand turn 3. Another place the car gets light. And then down the hill to turn 4. A quick series of shifts here, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and then be prepared for a roller coaster ride here that you feel in the pit of your stomach. Then down the carousel, a fast, long, left-hand downhill turn, leading on to the only place on the racetrack that you go straight. A chance to check your gauges, and then set up for turn 7. Hard on the brakes here, and it's a very important turn because it sets you up for the entire back section of the racetrack. Second gear, a quick shift to third gear, fourth gear. Here's where the ground effects really come into play because it holds the car down for the fast left, right, left back section of the racetrack. A quick shift to fifth, and then we've got to set up for turn 10. So we'll tap the brakes about right here, slide through turn 10, a fast right-hand turn, and then down the back straightaway, hard on the brakes. You've got to get down to second gear, and you'll see a lot of passing here because you can get the nose inside and get under somebody. Then a quick shift of second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and you've got the start-finish line, fifth gear, and another lap around Sears Point.
Okay, the pace lap has begun here at Sears Point, so as the cars begin warming up tires and engines, let's take a look at the way they'll line up for today's race. On the pole and on a roll, the number 14 Lowenbrow Porsche 962 to be shared by Portland winner Chip Robinson and car owner Al Holbert. Outside will be the number 86 Porsche from Bayside Motorsports, a solo effort for West Germany's Jochen Maas. Inside row 2, the tragic heroes at Portland last week, the number 83 Nissan GTP ZXT to be shared by Elliott Forbes Robinson and John Morton. Outside will be our camera car today, the number 67 BF Goodrich Porsche 962, the drivers young Darren Brasfield and Frenchman Bob Wallach, who won here 2 years ago. Inside row 3 will be the number 52 Chevy Corvette GTP, the drivers South African Cyril van der Merwe and Doc Bundy. Outside row 3 will be the defending race champions, the number 16 Dyson Racing Porsche, the drivers car owner Rob Dyson, and the runner-up in points at this stage, Bryce Cobb. Inside row 4 will be the number 10 Porsche 962, the Wins Porsche, to be shared by Jim Adams and John Hotchkiss. And outside will be the red and yellow number 30 Momo Buick March, to be shared by the international driving team of Italian Giampiero Moretti and American Whitney Gans. On row 5 will be our pole sitter in the Camel Lights class. His 8th and 12 attempts, Jeff Klein. Tom Winters will be a standby driver. Jim Rothbarth outside another Pontiac Fiero. Row 6 will have Don Bell in a Pontiac Fiero alongside Chip Mead in a Porsche-powered Fab car. Row 7 will be Jim Downing, the points leader in Camel Lights, alongside Howard Katz in a Chevy Tyga. Tom Blackall, our occasional broadcasting colleague, and Bob Lesnet will be inside row 8. Kim Campbell and Al Mitchell outside. The pace car is off. Look at the rest of the field. We're coming down to the green flag in the Ford California Grand Prix. Chip Robinson, the pole sitter, is off to a fast start. Through the high-speed turn 1, reaching speeds of some 160, 170 miles an hour. There you see Robinson in a Porsche Parade up front. The Nissan in 3rd place with Elliott Forbes Robinson behind the wheel. As the field begins to string out, Robinson opening up a quick advantage. A view from our camera set some 60 feet above this Sears Point International Racecourse. We also have one set at ground level, and here's what he's seeing. As Robinson leads Jochen Mass, Bob Wallach, Elliott Forbes Robinson, and Doc Bundy through turn number 5. They'll go over the hill and hit the round downhill carousel. Clean start here at Sears Point. Round 12 of the Camel GT season. 4 races remaining this year. Coming to you live on ESPN. Bob Barsha and Lynn St. James with you. Gary Lee and Marty Reed are along pit road. Chip Robinson takes a wide sweep through turn number 7. One of the tightest turns on the race course. As I said a few moments ago, 7 and the tight turn 11 just before they hit the front straightaway are where we expect to see most of the passing today. In our first 2 cars, Chip Robinson and Jochen Mass, 14 and 86, opening up a gap on the rest of the field. There you see the number 16 Porsche. Bryce Cobb behind the wheel, the car that won this race last year. Once again, Cobb teamed up with car owner Rob Dyson, who finished that race last year without a working cool suit in temperatures very much like what we're seeing today. And Lynn, I don't think we can overemphasize the impact of the heat. Temperatures in the GTO cars yesterday, I'm told, reached over 160 degrees, and it certainly played a role in the outcome of the race when Greg Pickett fainted on the last lap.
That's right, and the GTO cars are open, you know, the sedan, and the windows are open, so we get some air. In fact, we even have ducting to get some of that cool air into the cockpit. And with the GTP cars, it's an entire closed cockpit. The air that they're dependent on is coming in through the frontal area where they have some ducts coming in. And that also, of course, is where the brakes are cooled and everything else. So depending on how much air they've allowed in the cars, it can have to do something.
Here, watch our camera car, the number 67 Porsche. Bob Wallach behind the wheel, battling with Elliott Forbes Robinson in the Nissan. Once again, for 3rd place on the racetrack. You got a look a moment ago at the number 30 Buick Momo March with Giampiero Moretti behind the wheel. Here's the view that Bob Wallach has, and this is one of the cars that we really expect to see do well today.
You saw as they came down the carousel, they had to flick the steering wheel, and then coming down the carousel in the GTP car with a ground effects car, you don't know if it's going to kick away a lot. You don't know if it's going to understeer or oversteer when it happens, so you've got to be prepared for either one.
Down through the S's they go, up in 4th and 5th gear. Another very fast part of the Sears Point race course. A 128 lap just cut by our leaders, and that compares to a qualifying time, Chip Robinson at 125. So very quick in the early going here at Sears. Here's the all-important braking for turn number 11.
You just have to slow the car down incredible to get through this this very tight turn. It's a total 90 degree, and you just never have enough racetrack, and you can see the wall on the outside, so you can't let the car drift out too much or you're into the wall.
A lot of great stories to cover in today's race as Bob Wallach passes under the start-finish line and heads up into turn 1 once again. On that first lap, Bruce Levin, who Marty told you started in 18th position, was up to 9th after 1 lap. So all of those 9 lights cars in front of him were swept by the wayside as Bruce Levin of the number 85 Bayside Motorsports Porsche 962 is cutting a swath through this field.
It's a very fast pace. You can see that the leaders are really even pulling away from where Wallach is positioned. And I noticed that Jochen Mass is really pressing on the leader's position. So it's just a very, very fast pace.
Good views from inside our camera car. We'll go back outside and look at the beating the suspension takes as he crests that hill and heads down into the carousel below our announce position.
That's the outside. Looking from the outside in, we saw the inside out, so you can see how the car bumps and just really rides like a roller coaster over the carousel.
Now here's the battle for 4th place, the number 83 Nissan. We called them the tragic heroes of Portland. If you were with us for last weekend's race, they led the race with about 12 laps to go. Elliott Forbes Robinson and IndyCar ace Jeff Brabham from Australia, when the car lost its coolant and overheated. That after having led the same race at Portland the previous year up to the last lap when they ran out of gas. So Portland, not a racetrack that's favoring this Ford Nissan team, but they're looking real sharp here at Sears Point. Bryce Cobb right now giving Elliott Forbes Robinson all he can handle. Back up front now, we'll watch as Chip Robinson out of Old Wick, New Jersey, being trailed by one of the most experienced Porsche drivers in the world, Jochen Mass, a West German, now having the misfortune of having to live on about a 50-foot sailboat in the harbor at Monte Carlo. Tough life.
He is really maintaining this very fast pace, staying and closing in right tight on Chip. And of course, remember, Jochen is planning to go the distance alone. I thought maybe he might take a little more conservative approach, knowing that he has to go that distance and sort of let himself, you know, string it out and not be concerned with that pressure at the very beginning. But he is going right for it.
You see how Moss in the second car there, the number 86 car, closes up on the 14 of Robinson in the turns. So Jochen apparently braking a little bit later. In yesterday's race, right at that hilltop, we saw the GTO and GTU production-based cars braking as they hit that hill. The Porsches apparently ground force, Lynn, they're not having to brake there.
Well, they have to brake, but they can wait until after they crest the hill. And because the brakes are so much better and the ground effects holds the car down. So I'll tell you, it's a lot, you know, it's still kind of a roller coaster ride, but it is a lot more stable in a GTP car. The GTO cars are so much heavier, and they just kind of have to fling them sideways there, and it's when the car's light that you have to use the brakes.
You got to look there at the third place car, Bob Wallach. This is Jochen Moss. Now, Moss and Wallach are planning to go the whole way. Chip Robinson up front has the advantage of having a relief driver, a guy who's done a little bit of Porsche driving by the name of Al Holbert, who has won 48 IMSA races. Nobody has ever won more. The Porsche Meisters, Chip Robinson and Al Holbert, leading here early at Sears Point as they go down that short chute under the start-finish flag, reaching over 160, 170 miles an hour as they head up into turn 1. We are 4 laps complete, working 5 here at Sears Point, and we'll be back for more in just a moment.
Every now and then, I compete in front of the whole world. Other times, I'm just out to have a good time with my family and friends. Come on, you're up. That's why I got into bowling. Yeah, bowling. Fun, pretty good exercise. It's great. Best of all, you don't have to get a 10 to have a great time. All right. On the other hand, it doesn't hurt.
New leagues are now forming at these nearby bowling centers.
Mobilecom, an authorized agent of Bell South Mobility, announces the $24.95 per month cellular car phone lease. Mobilecom's lease includes the Fujitsu Commander equipment package with over 30 superior features, including the hands-free operation feature for driving safety, along with antenna and installation. Mobilecom is backed by Bell South Mobility 24-hour customer service. For further information or a free demonstration at your office, call 843-3388. Mobilecom, the mobile communication company for mobile people.
Kleiner GTI, uses prima aus.
To all the cars that try to perform like a Volkswagen GTI, and try to handle like a Volkswagen GTI, and try to be as much fun, we have some bad news. We just made Follow the Leader a little harder to play. Introducing the 16-valve Volkswagen GTI.
Bob Strange, BF Goodrich test engineer.
All week long, I test tires. But on weekends, I drive race cars. In some ways, tire testing is just as tough. Comparing one tire with another takes precision driving. I believe TA Radios are the best performance tires in the world. And I punish them to keep them that way.
TA Radios of BF Goodrich. Tested tough to make your car perform.
We're back live at Sears Point. Bob Barsha and Lynn St. James with you for round 12 of the Camel GT season, the Ford California Grand Prix. Now, to give you an example of how far we're willing to go here at ESPN to give you the best pictures possible, here is poor TJ, the cameraman. He is outside turn number 4, where he is 5 feet in the ground. That camera is at gopher's eye level to give you the best view we can of that turn 4, turn 5 interchange. Have a good day out there, TJ. Right now, up front, Chip Robinson having a good day, pressed by this guy, Jochen Moss, who is planning to drive this race solo. And again, it is very hot. Temperatures supposed to get up to close to 100 degrees as they were yesterday. And these cars are going to build up a tremendous amount of heat. While we were away in commercial, we had a pass. Bryce Cobb has moved his number 16 Porsche up into 4th place, passing Elliott Forbes Robinson. So make your order. Chip Robinson in 1st place. 2nd, Jochen Moss. 3rd, Bob Wallach. 4th, Bryce Cobb. 5th, Elliott Forbes Robinson in the number 83 Nissan. Now here is your leader in the Camel Lights class. For all of you who have been with us all year, you know the Camel Lights are downsized, smaller engine, non-turbocharged prototype cars. A tremendous points battle going on for the championship here. And your leader right now, Jeff Klein. the pole sitter in this class for the 8th time in 12 tries. Normally he co-drives with Don Bell in an identical car. In fact, that's Jim Rothbarth behind him. I almost thought that was Don Bell. The cars, the Fieros, very much look alike. Jeff Klein and Jim Rothbarth, 1-2 in Camel Lights right now. The Camel Lights, as I said, having a great battle. Just a few points separating first from 5th place in the driver battle. Here comes the number 01 Fieri now. This is Don Bell, who won 5 of the first 6 races in the Camel Lights class, and apparently having a little bit of a mechanical problem with that car.
He qualified 3rd, and yet he's running, I think, about 5th or 6th, so he definitely has dropped back. So if something is either wrong or he knows something that we don't know.
I saw Chip Mead and Jim Downing go by, and so Don Bell is evidently having a problem. He's at least in 5th place in class, perhaps 6th, and behind him he is going to be pressured by Howard Katz in the Chevy-powered Tiger. There's the 73 car. You see Katz making his way around Don Bell. Back up front, Chip Robinson leading Jochen Maas. A great battle since the start of the race. As I mentioned, Chip Robinson to be relieved in this race by Al Holbert. It will be Holbert's last scheduled driving appearance of the year. The man who has won more IMSA races than any other, and certainly more races for this Porsche 962 brand than any other, says this will probably be his last race of the season. He has a lot of responsibility with Porsche's new IndyCar program. He wants his man Chip Robinson to have the best shot at a championship. Now that Robinson leads in the points, looks to be on his way toward a possible championship in GTP driving on the Camel GT trail. Al Holbert will tend to some other duties. Now you see Robinson beginning to lap slower traffic very early on. That's the number 42 Camel Lights car. Howard Cherry started it, sharing with Oregon's Tom Phillips, and he's already being lapped on as we finish lap number 8 here at Sears.
You know, it appears, except for Chip and Jochen, who are really running a very close, you know, race right here, that everybody is driving their own pace. It doesn't appear to be, you know, a lot of, everybody just seems to be in single file, and they're just really going for a very individual driving pace that everybody has determined, which a lot of races you go in with a strategy, but sometimes you get into the race and that strategy has to change.
We expect one pit stop for most of the big GTP cars here. The very thirsty Corvette, presently in 6th position in the race, with Doc Bundy at the wheel, will probably have to make 2 stops. It uses a lot of fuel to generate some 800 to 900 horsepower. So Doc Bundy will make 2. Everybody else will make 1. And it'll be interesting to see if we can get a driver change in with one team in as little a time as it takes another team simply to gas up and change tires. Gary Lee is patrolling pit road and has a story for us.
Well, I will say this and then really address it to Lynn that she can really amplify on it. Apparently the fuel may be vaporizing because of the heat in the 01 Don Bell Pontiac Fiero. So they came in, relieved the pressure, and sent him back out. So perhaps, again, Lynn, you can amplify on exactly what happens and why it happens.
Well, Gary, we noticed as the car was going around, we've got the camera on it, and the fuel was just pouring out of the filler there. So I'm not sure what, I don't know enough about the technical aspect of when a fuel would vaporize, but he does not appear to be getting the power down, which the fuel is just coming
very
out.
Clearly there. You can see it out of the left side of the car as we look at it. Fuel is not vaporizing. It is absolutely venting out of that race car. So Don Bell out of Rolling Hills, California, who is in the thick of a championship battle in this class, has problems very early on here at Sears Point. Back up front, Chip Robinson and Jochen Maas continue to lead the way. Maas in limited duty with Bruce Levin's Bayside Motorsports team this year, usually co-driving with a guy named Bobby Rahal, the national IndyCar champion. Rahal drove solo last weekend at Portland. Maas and Rahal in 3 previous drives had 2 firsts and a second. So even in those 3 races, Jochen Maas is moving right up there in Camel GT points. In fact, he was in 6th place, tied with Darren Brassfield coming in. Now Don Bell is pitting with apparently a problem that will not go away on that Fiero. Bad sign when the hood goes up. Now these Fieros are classified as Camel Lights cars. They generate about 335 horsepower out of those 4-cylinder non-turbocharged Pontiac engines. Many of these teams have new chassis coming from Spice Engineering, and they will run as Pontiac Fiero GT prototypes, going up to 8-cylinder engines with a lot of horsepower, 500 to 600 horses, and they'll be prototype racing next year with these guys. As now Bob Wallach moves up to Jochen Maas's tail, and we've got a real race here. Let's go inside.
I think he's going for a pass there. You have to really get in on the inside to do that, and he certainly made the effort. But sometimes when you go in that tight, it really affects your exit, and so you lose a little bit of the exit speed, which was what happened to Bob. You can see how close he was, and now he's really pulled. Jochen has been able to pull away from him.
The graphic said third place. Bob Wallach now up to second place as you look right up the tailpipe of Chip Robinson. Kind of an ironic circumstance in there in that Wallach and Moss drive together on the International Sports Car Series in Porsches for the Porsche factory. So Bob Wallach giving his teammate a little elbow there and moving on into second place here at Sears.
And he is pressing for first place. Wallach in his form is definitely going after first place. You can see his eyes are concentrating so much ahead. He is very, very tuned to the eye contact of where he's going and concentration. I can see it on his face.
You can see the jaw set as Bob Wallach, who is probably one of the fittest drivers on this series. There you see Wallach from Strasbourg, France, a former member of the French national ski team, a soccer star, an incredible tennis player. I don't know, I won't take him on. But a very, very fit individual. And in this race, in temperatures expected to reach 100 degrees, fitness may very well play an important role in the winter.
I think it will. And Wallach, of course, is one of those that has gone the distance here and has won the race going the distance with the aid of a cool suit, but he still went the entire distance himself. So we may see a repeat performance today.
Now, the times have slipped a little bit. We are now running about 1 minute and 31 seconds a lap as opposed to the 125s and 26s and 27s they qualified at. So the traffic is slowing up the field a little bit as we work we're finishing lap 11. The end of lap 11 as they pass under the start-finish line, and Bob Wallach is hounding Chip Robinson for the lead. Moss in third, Bryce Cobb fourth, Elliott Forbes Robinson of the Nissan is fifth, and Doc Bundy has the Corvette in sixth.
I just saw Chip. He just got a little bit squirrely coming out, and I think the two cars are set up distinctly different. We've got two Porsche 962s, so the chassis are equal, and yet my sense of this is that Chip has a little bit of understeer, and Wallach has got his car with a little bit of oversteer. He can get the car loose a lot easier. Most of the time you set up the chassis here with a little bit of understeer setting up going in because the track gets slick, and as the track gets slick, you want a little bit of an understeering car so that you can still get that power down.
Okay, our report from the pit is that Don Bell in the 01 AT&T Collins and Aikman Pontiac Fiero is out of the race. They've got a fuel system problem, and it looks like Don Bell will not get back in. That's going to hurt him. Don Bell was in second place in driver points coming into this race with a shot at leader Jim Downing, but it's not going to be today for Don Bell.
Bob Wallach is pressing Chip every place he can. He's there, he's everywhere. He's trying to get under braking. He's getting it. He seems to get a little better exit speed off of the corner, and he comes right up on Chip. He's got caught in traffic here, which really can hurt because that was a high-speed section of the track. That was turn 10, which is a very fast right-hand turn, and that hurt him pretty badly.
On Camel Lights cars, that was the 43, I believe, Porsche Fab car being driven by Chip Meade, hoping to go solo all the way in today's race. Gave Chip Robinson a little bit of breathing room, and now Jochen Moss moving up on his European teammate, Bob Wallach, hoping to get a shot first at Wallach and then perhaps at this man, Chip Robinson. There you see the Bayside car, which used to carry a decal advertising the world's fastest garbage man. In fact, you can see it just behind the driver's side door there. Bruce Levin, who owned the Bayside Disposal trash business up in Redmond, Washington, sold it recently, and the 01 is back out. Don Bell moving very slowly. Lynn, I would guess he went back out to try to get some points, but that is one sick race car.
Could be a driver who just really wants to get back and, run a race. He came here today to run a race, and it's so early to have this kind of a problem, but he definitely is not going to be able to continue.
And there are really no options for Don Bell. You can't start another car and hope to get points. You only score points in the car in which you start. So Don Bell is just going to try to make the best of it as we watch Bob Wallach getting right up on Chip Robinson. Jochen Moss right there, 3 Porsches in a row. And I believe they just passed the 79 of Jeff Klein, who was leading Camel Lights. So here we are on lap number 13, and they are already passing the Lights leader. Very quick pace as you see them pass Don Bell there. And Chip Robinson, followed by Bob Wallach and Jochen Moss, setting a very fast early pace here at Sears.
Traffic really comes into play almost every lap here because even though it's a 2.5-mile track, you've got traffic everywhere and you can't pass everywhere, so you really have to be very careful.
Now we've got another problem in the Camel Lights class. Here's the 09 Pontiac Fiero of Steve Durst and Mike Brockman. Durst, who is third in that battle for Camel Lights points, had hoped to go all the way, but he apparently has some kind of a problem under the engine hood on that 4-cylinder Pontiac Fiero Camel Lights car.
I understand that they blew an engine yesterday in qualifying, so they had to put a new engine in, and it looks like maybe that one was
They blew the engine, which dropped them back into the 9th row for today's race, right alongside that 85 Porsche of Bruce Levin. Trouble on row 9 today, and it looks like Steve Durst has got his problems. Now the leader's beginning to string out a little bit. You see Chip Robinson up front with a little bit of breathing room over Bob Wallach as they head into that very tight turn number 7.
It's a 1-2-3 parade right now. 3 Porsche 962s, and they're all running very, very equal.
Chip Robinson driving a Lowenbrow Special Porsche 962. It's called Chassis HR1, built by Holbert Racing. Chip Robinson's teammate Al Holbert is also the director of Porsche Motorsport North America, and he builds these Porsche 962s. Good look there as Chip Robinson brakes hard and leans into the window. You see his head fighting the forces of gravity and centrifugal force. He tries to keep his head straight and brakes and turns hard into that turn number 11.
That's another fatigue factor. Is the ground, because of the ground effects, there are all of those forces, and when you add the heat, and because we're turning so much here at Sears Point, your head is really, it becomes like a baseball or something on top of you. You know, it just pivots from one side to the other. So I think that's another fatigue factor, particularly late in the race.
There's a look at Chip Robinson, 33 years old, out of Oldwick, New Jersey. Recall Lime Rock a little bit earlier this year here on ESPN, where we saw Price Cobb have to get out of his car and explain to Marty Reed that I can't hold my head up. Marty said, "Are you sick?" He said, "No, I'm not sick. I just can't hold my head up." And we watched Jochen Maas put a wheel off there. Could be dangerous here at Sears Point. When you get to the edge of that pavement, it drops down to the dirt. Marty Reed is standing by now in Steve Durst's Camel Light pit. Marty?
Well, it looks like the Pontiac Fieros have come up with a similar problem. Both Don Bell and Steve Durst are in with fuel line problems. What they're doing on Durst's car is trying to bypass the system to get him back out there. They're also going to change the plugs because a couple of them have fouled in the process. What it means to Jim Downing, he's out there breathing easy. He's leading Don Bell by 7 points and then by 11 points over Steve Durst in 3rd place. So he's loving the fact that the Fieros are having problems. Let's go down to Gary Lee.
Well, I can really only amplify on what Marty is saying. They are trying to bypass that. The problem is with the electronic fuel pump, and Don very impatient right on the cockpit. Both the doors are open, trying to get more air in the cockpit. He's had a chance to take a drink from the onboard cooling system, and the work continues in the back engine compartment. But again, 2 problems in 2 Fieros.
Well, that'll certainly provide plenty of relief driving help if they can't get those cars back out. 2 other Fieros still in the thick of today's race, and Bob Wallach now gets right up on Chip Robinson. Jochen Maas right behind him, and Price Cobb trying to get in the middle of it as they lap Bruce Levin. You saw the 85 car in the background there, the 4th Porsche. He is a lap down now. He is not a part of this lead battle. A 3-way tussle here between Chip Robinson, Bob Wallach, and Jochen Maas. Once more down through turn 4, up over the hill in 5. And in the long carousel of turn 6. And we'll get on to the braking area for turn 7. They have room to get up to 5th gear here and hit 150, 160 miles an hour. We'll see who's brave enough to get on the brakes last in hopes of making a pass. No pass to be made right there. Bob Wallach in 2nd place, one of the great chargers on the Camel GT Series this year. A man who goes hard right from the green flag. And we asked him a little earlier about his driving strategy.
I follow no strategy. I just go as fast as I can from the start to the finish. I don't think you want, in my opinion, I don't think you want to give room to other people to sort of drive conservative for a while and then charge at the end, because very often if you wait too long and start charging, you might finish 2nd or 3rd. I mean, Ray Hall at Portland, for instance, wasn't driving maximum speed in the early stages, and eventually at the end he was sort of missing a couple of seconds for the victory.
How about Bob Wallach? 2nd or 3rd, not satisfactory. He wants to lead and he wants to win. And we have the Nissan is now the A3 car in the pits way too early. Let's get down to Marty Reed.
Well, guys, we can only tell you there appears to be a tire problem. They are changing all 4, putting fuel, and this is very costly. As we mentioned yesterday during the GTO race, a long pit entrance, a long pit exit. The time on the stop, 22 seconds.
So Elliott Forbes Robinson back out in the electromotive Nissan number 83, the car that everybody pretty much views as the fastest in terms of sheer speed, a straight line speed here on the Camel GT. And Don Bell right now has got one of the fastest cars around right in his mirrors. Elliott Forbes Robinson out of Denver, North Carolina, a man who's won in 4 different classes of IMSA racing, the only man to do that. Now has plenty of ground to make up on these guys. Chip Robinson continues to lead Bob Wallach and Jochen Maas as the suspensions work down the back stretch, hard on the brakes and into 11. And Bob Wallach is right there, hoping to get on the button as fast as possible and try to get him coming off the turn, but can't get the traction. You saw the 67 car wiggle a little bit off of 11. And Chip Robinson will maintain the lead. Once more, they head back up into turn 1. 16 laps complete here at Sears Point, and we'll be back. Chip Robinson is your leader.
Bob Strange, BF Goodrich test engineer.
All week long, I test tires. But on weekends, I drive race cars. In some ways, tire testing is just as tough. Comparing one tire with another takes precision driving. I believe TA Radios are the best performance tires in the world. And I punish them to keep them that way.
TA Radios from BF Goodrich. Tested tough to make your car perform.
Racing from the inside. No one covers it like Auto Week. Auto Week makes you an insider at the world's great races every week. In the pits, behind the scenes, in the cockpit, with columnists who race and win. Inside coverage of Formula cars, stockers, sports cars, just days after the race. Auto Week puts you inside the world's most exciting cars every week. Right behind the wheel, inside the whole automotive scene. Personalities, cars of the past, industry news. Let Auto Week make you an insider, too. Call 1-800-554-3000 to get Auto Week at the lowest price ever. Just $17.25 for 52 issues, only 33 cents a week. Save 25% off the basic rate. Get Auto Week today. Call 1-800-554-3000. Operators are standing by. Let Auto Week make you an insider.
Back live at Sears Point, and our leader Chip Robinson has incredible problems. You saw Bryce Cobb just go by. Smoke coming out of the back of that number 14 Lowenbrow Porsche. Chip Robinson perhaps cannot get power down to the ground just as they cross the start finish line to complete lap number 17. Here you'll see it. Chip Robinson, excuse me, we're going into turn 11, and Chip Robinson obviously having problems. He pulls to the left and lets Bob Wallach under.
Well, I was noticing that Bob was really pressing that every turn under braking, so that was, he didn't really let him go by at that point. I think that was a clean, competitive pass.
Okay, now just before that, with 8 cars on the lead lap, here's what happened to that 8th car. You saw Giampiero Moretti spun it up there in turn number 11. Here are your leaders diving underneath. Close moment there.
Quick reflexes by everybody. Everybody got through there cleanly, but I don't know whether something, maybe Chip over-revved it. Something may have happened there. I don't know.
This could really hurt our points leader, Chip Robinson, coming in with a 35-point bulge over Bryce Cobb, and he has definite problems. He is a mile and a half away from the finish, from the pits, that is. Chip Robinson working that Porsche around. No outward sign of what the problem might be. The car's all in one piece. Now we're seeing a lot of smoke. Turbocharger, perhaps?
It definitely is engine related. As I said, when Wallach got by and made that pass, I think the car was running well. It was clean, but as soon as he got on the power to come out of that turn, because Wallach had to really get sideways to get out of the turn, he just didn't have any power. So somewhere he's got an engine problem. Could be turbo.
So Chip Robinson, who had such high hopes for this race after one mechanical failure after another prevented them from winning in the first 9 events of 1987, Chip finally knocked off his first solo win for the Lowenbrow team at Portland last weekend. Now hoping to come up with a back-to-back victory. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen for Chip Robinson today. Now here is your leader, stern of visage, Bob Wallach from Strasbourg, France.
You notice that concentration out of those eyes is just as stealing whether he's in the lead or whether he's chasing somebody down. It's the same expression, the same intensity.
Tell him he's in the lead. He says, I know I'm in the lead, and I'm busy right now in front of him. You see he's got one of the Camel Lights cars. It's Howard Katz, the number 73 Chevy-powered Tiger Racer. Bob Wallach will probably eat him up if he can get a passing line here on the backside. Now let's get down. Marty Reed is now in the Holbert pits with Chip Robinson.
Well, guys, I can guarantee you we won't have to worry about mosquitoes down here as long as that smoke is coming out. It's pouring out the back, and Chip has shut off the motor. The best speculation we can get from the team, Kevin Doran and Al Holbert, is they think it could be a turbo problem. The bonnet is definitely coming off. This is going to be a long stop.
The bonnet comes off. Recall Sebring earlier this year when it was a turbo that took them out with just an hour left in that 12-hour race. It's not often that you see the Lowenbrow Porsche in the pits with mechanical problems. We'll be back to Sears Point.
Bob Strange, BF Goodrich test engineer.
The trick to building great all-terrain tires is making them as good off-road as on. All-terrain TAs from BF Goodrich are tested in some of the roughest off-road situations in the world. I believe TA radials are the best performance tires in the world, and I torture them to keep them that way.
TA radials from BF Goodrich, tested tough to make your truck perform.
The car of Bob Wallach leading here in the Ford California Grand Prix live on ESPN. And just look at the beating the driver takes. His chin is set as he drives around this fairly lumpy racetrack, a track that makes handling very important. For more insight on that, let's talk with Marty and a quick fact. Quick facts are brought to you by new Quaker State with QSX. It keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
Handling at a track like Sears Point is at a premium. Unlike last week's race at Portland, where it was basically two straightaways connected by a few general curves, this is hilly terrain with a lot of downshifting. A lot of handling is going to have to be made by each of these cars. Now, the drivers can do two things, and basically it's in the suspension. One is that they can adjust these springs. They can stiffen them if they have to, but a lot of them will be softening them this week, trying to make the car ride a little smoother over the hilly terrain. And then there's also the shock absorbers. Now, we can show you two angles on this. First, the pressure stroke, the downstroke when the car hits the bump. There's 20 adjustments that can be made right there alone. Then on the rebound, in other words, when the car's coming back up, this knob right here, the little blue one, can be set to 6 different adjustments. To give you an example, the Rob Dyson machine this week is running on adjustment number 3. Last week at Portland, a stiffer ride at number 4.
Well, that ride has him up to 3rd place behind this man, Bob Wallach, driving around. Obviously have that BF Goodrich Porsche dialed in just about right. Gary Lee has more on this man, Bob Wallach.
I walked down to the BF Goodrich team and I said, is Bob talking? Can, in fact, he go the distance? Young Darren Brasfield is standing by with his driving suit on to get in if needed. Curiously enough, nothing has been said from the cockpit. Jim Busby told me if there's something wrong with the car, if there's something wrong with the driver, then he'll say something. But if everything is okay, there is never, ever a word uttered from the cockpit of car 67 from the Frenchman, Bob Wallach. So he's not saying anything, so apparently everything is copacetic.
Well, he's got one problem, Gary. He's losing the decal on his helmet. But other than that, yeah, everything's going just fine for this man, Bob Wallach, making his way around 1st place. Right behind him is Jochen Mass as he takes a look there inside a Camel Lights car.
It's amazing how different styles, not only driving styles, but also just your performer about the way you operate. And Wallach, as they just pointed out, doesn't talk in the radio at all unless he has something to say there's something wrong. I happen to sort of go along with that same philosophy. I don't want to have idle chit-chat, and yet I know other drivers they talk that just talk all along and have just all kinds of little conversations. So, you know, I look at it, the concentration level that it takes to have the performance that you want to have on a racetrack takes all of your mental energy as well as your physical, and you're using it up doing the right thing rather than talking.
Are you very polite with your crew on the radio, Lynn?
Of course, only dealing with the specifics.
I was at the Mid-Ohio race earlier this year listening to Al Holbert's crew radio. They would say, Al, this is your situation. He'd say, thank you. He said, you have this much of a lead. He said, thank you. Thank yous to everything. No comments, just thank yous. Now here you see the 86 car, Jochen Maas in second place, about to get a look at Elliott Forbes Robinson, and he goes right around with a skid up front. Was that Wallach? Hard into the... It is Wallach. The car has crashed horribly. Bob Wallach has flipped, spun, and torn off all the bodywork. You see him moving around in the car, but he is sitting on his head. Bob Wallach's right arm moving around there. He is apparently digging on those belts, trying to get himself unhooked. Lynn, you've been through a crash somewhat like this. You had to deal with fire as well, though, and I imagine your first instinct is to just try to get out of the car.
You definitely need to get out of the car, and upside down it's hard because when you release the belts, your body weight is now, you're like in a parachute. You're hanging upside down, so it's very hard to wriggle out.
A tremendous crash. You see the right rear tire there has absolutely exploded. We can't speculate as to whether or not that might have happened before or after the wreck, but that tire is absolutely gone. You see that the left side rear tire is pretty much intact. We saw that the left front was as well.
And of course, the right rear would be the loaded tire, because that was turn 1, which is a left-hand high-speed turn.
So apparently Bob Wallach had a tire let go in a big way as he made the left-hand turn from the start-finish line and across under the bridge to start uphill, and it just went away and threw him violently into the barriers.
I was just thinking that there was no warning. I mean, it just went. I mean, he came out of turn 11. We watched that when he came out of turn 12.
Now you see them taking him out of the car. There in the background, you see the IMSA quick response vehicle. It's a Porsche 928, that is, capable of speeds of over 170 miles an hour for just this situation, to get a doctor, a trauma expert, to the scene of an accident to take care of that driver and get him stabilized until the heavy-duty first aid equipment can get there.
That's an excellent addition to IMSA, and I'm so glad to see them execute it and get there, because that's absolutely necessary thing.
You saw the okay sign from the corner worker there. He is apparently okay, but Bob Wallach is very stunned.
I think, you know, he was sort of, oh, look at...
And here is Jochen Maas's car. He is the second place car. He's pulling up at trackside to see how his teammate Bob Wallach is doing.
That is incredible. I have never seen that either. I haven't. And
he's sacrificing his position to see how his teammate is doing.
Bob was sort of slumped over. Maybe could have been just from being totally winded. I hope that there's some...
Now they use the fireman's jacket to provide some shade as the first aid workers take a close look at Bob Wallach, our leader in this race until a titanic accident in turn number 1.
I'm wondering if that A could have also been a signal that the corner workers used that an ambulance was required to get there.
Well, they're all looking back down the race course, so I assume we'll get an ambulance. I'm sure they want to take him away and take a close look at Bob Wallach, no matter what his status. And there you see one of the workers with a red cross on a jersey, one of the nurses staffing the infield hospital here. Now let's take a look. Now we'll just get a quick look at what happened to Bob Wallach. Look ahead as Maas approaches turn 1, and we will see here, there.
Definitely the right rear just let go. The car came sideways and around, and the right rear just let go. He had absolutely no right rear traction at all.
Now we'll take a look from a camera up the hill, and we'll see if we can get a closer look as Bob Wallach enters turn 1. Look right down there under the bridge, and Bob Wallach will come into your picture from the right-hand side. There he comes. By then, oh!
The car was just launched. It was just flinging up in the air, and then it hit the embankment there. That was an incredible hit. You know, that was probably equal if you had hit a cement wall.
A monumental impact, and you see the result to the Goodrich Porsche 962 of Bob Wallach. We'll be back with whatever assessment of his condition we can get for you in a moment.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
Learn to play tennis or play like the pros with the all-new internationally used Tennis Partner. Now, for the first time in the United States, Tennis Partner can help you improve your game, sharpen your skills, or just increase your health and stamina. You can play singles or doubles, and no matter what shots you practice, your tennis ball will always return to you. Tennis Partner is used by pros and amateurs alike, so whether you're 7 or 70, you can get into the swing of tennis. Your Tennis Partner includes a long-life tennis ball, anchor with braided nylon tether, 2 super-strength elastic extenders, plus a full instruction booklet with tips from the pros. Order today and receive free the official Tennis Partner headband.
Thanks, Tennis Partner.
To order your Tennis Partner, have your Visa or MasterCard ready and call 266-4942. That's 266-4942. Or send check or money order for only $14.95 plus $3 for postage and handling to Tennis Partner, 1101 Cobb Parkway, Marietta, Georgia, 30062.
Kleiner GTI, uses prima aus.
To all the cars that try to perform like a Volkswagen GTI, and try to handle like a Volkswagen GTI, and try to be as much fun, we have some bad news. We just made Follow the Leader a little harder to play. Introducing the 16-valve Volkswagen GTI.
I was cooking on Kingsford showing major league form, but the minor league charcoal was stuck on warm. Finally, old Lefty threw down his hat and said, when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. I take a Kingsford view about barbecue. When you're hot, you're hot. Kingsford charcoal is made with premium wood char. Kingsford burns hot when some others might not. Said, pay attention, son, let me show you how it's done. When you're hot, you're hot. He said, thanks a lot. When you're hot, you're hot.
A treacherous way to get your thrills. ESPN Speedway America takes you on a wild ride with championship motorcycle racing. Friday nights on the leader in motorsports coverage, ESPN.
There are the remains of what was once a shining Porsche 962 driven by Bob Wallach. Now we have a very special angle of this race from our in-car. Here is what happened to Bob.
I hope we get to see this twice, because this time you're going to just look where the car was going. You see that shake, that shudder, and then the rear end comes out. But the next time I want you to watch his hands, because the instinctive thing that he did was to try to collect it. He still tried to save that.
Okay, there's where the camera obviously became disabled in this tremendous crash suffered by Bob Wallach. We'll bring the tape back one more time now, and Lynn, your comment about his driving.
Just watch the lower right corner. You can see his glove and see his hands, and he's perfectly calm here, perfectly, has very stable on the, grip on the steering wheel there. He's just starting to turn it in now, and that happens. When the rear end came out, he completely went to a reverse lock and tried to save the car.
Turning to the right, you see the gauges light up as the oil pressure and the engine go haywire. Now, obviously, a tire or a suspension problem in the right rear threw Bob into a tremendous spin. Well, we are approaching mid-race, and that makes it time for our mid-race report. Under caution here at Sears Point. Our mid-race report is brought to you by Volkswagen. Your leader at this point, Jochen Mass, in a way that I'm sure he would not have chosen to take the lead in this race. Under yellow presently, there are 3 cars remaining on the lead lap at this point. Jochen Mass followed by Price Cobb and the Corvette, with Doc Bundy behind the wheel. We've had 3 leaders thus far, 2 lead changes. Chip Robinson led early before having turbocharger problems and going to the pits. Bob Wallach took over, suffered that tremendous crash, and now Jochen Mass is your leader. The lights leader, Jeff Klein, with co-driver and car owner Tom Winters standing by in case he has a problem. Out of the race thus far, Robinson and Holbert have apparently retired that turbocharged plagued Porsche 962. Bob Wallach and Darren Brassfield with, of course, the incredible crash that we saw moments ago. Well, we emphasized that fitness was going to be a part of today's race, so while we have a moment here, Lynn St. James would like to update us on a very special fitness-related driver's study.
Over the past 4 years, 2 sports specialists from McGill University in Montreal, Canada, have studied race car drivers from all over the world. Formula One, IndyCar drivers, and now IMSA Camel GT drivers. Other professional sports, such as golf, tennis, football, baseball, all have very sophisticated training programs available to them. Now, through the expertise of Dan Marisi and Jacques Dallaire, race car drivers can benefit from their expertise in getting feedback and taking their testing program.
One of the things we look at is emotional profile. We know that there is a certain emotional configuration or profile that is most appropriate for performance, effective performance. it doesn't mean that if the driver has that particular emotional situation that he or she is going to win the race, or if they don't have the profile that they will lose the race. But it better allows them to drive to the limits of their capability, I suppose. And that's what we're looking for.
The mental intensity level and concentration required in racing is incredible. There are so many things to evaluate and digest, like determine how the car is handling, explain it to the crew, then come up with a solution. It's constant creative problem solving. We have to become one with the car and be prepared to take control, both mentally and physically.
The second dimension of our assessment protocol involves physical fitness assessment generally. We look at features such as body composition, percent body fat. Again, because the heat factor is a very prominent factor in motor racing, body fatness as an insulator can be a liability if it's too high. We look at elements of muscular endurance, muscular strength, flexibility, not so much for its contribution to performance in the sport, but more for safety and protection in the advent of an accident. And the final dimension we look at is cardiorespiratory fitness, endurance, capacity, stamina. It's known by a lot of different names. And given the nature of the length of races, the physical demands involved, the heat stresses under which drivers are placed, it becomes a very prominent physiological asset to have good cardiorespiratory fitness.
To help evaluate a driver's cardiorespiratory fitness, the research group utilizes this monitoring unit which fits inside the car with electrodes attached to the driver. It monitors and records the heart rate throughout the race and has a memory capability so that they can match the heart rate to what is happening on the racetrack.
Well, if you take, for example, one of the individuals we tested during the Grand Prix in Detroit last year, we saw an average racing heart rate of 180 beats per minute over 1 hour and 51 minutes continuously. But the average of 180 still represents about 85 to 90% of that individual's maximum heart rate potential for almost 2 hours in duration. So that's pretty significant. I think the other dimension that we have to consider is, given the intensity of the demands and the length of those demands and the influence of physical fatigue on mental function, it becomes critical that a driver be able to handle that physical fatigue, because the last thing we want is mental functioning problems at the end of a race, because the speeds are just as high then as they were at the beginning.
As drivers become more aware of the data and can look at their own specific results, both positive and negative, then see where they can make improvements, it will only improve their driving performance. All those functions tested are directly related to driving on the racetrack, and with all the emphasis on making the car go faster, the driver is just as important.
Well, we know, Lynn, for example, that when an individual is under undue fatigue or stress from a physical situation, for example, during the latter parts of a race, that has a very pronounced influence on their concentration or lack of concentration. So one of the things that we try to do is mix or integrate the physical situation or status of a driver with the mental status of a driver. So we will offer some suggestions with regard to a driver's strengths and weaknesses as far as concentration is concerned and type of concentration.
I recently took the test, and I really feel that it's helped me. But with all the feedback they give us, it's still up to the drivers to do the work.
All right, thank you very much, Lynn. You were a part of that study?
Yes, I am. I actually took the test in May at the Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, and we'll be working with them now for the next year. Because of the heat factor here, I think that percentage of body fat has a lot to do with the ability of being able to dissipate the heat. Just to give you an example, the average Formula One driver has a body percent fat of about 10%. And that's what we've got to try to do, is get down to about that level so that you can dissipate the heat better.
Like every other kind of athlete. Well, during the pit stops under the caution, this man won the battle. Bryce Cobb went in second, came out first, and he leads with 38 laps complete.
Car, hold on. Hey, guy's got himself a new Grand Am, huh? V6, aero skirts, big gauges, bucket seats.
So how have you been?
I've been up to here with all you goof-offs and your high-tech cars trying to schmooze us girls. One more thing.
What's that?
The Pontiac looks good on you.
Well, you're looking pretty good yourself.
Move it, Buster. Get out of here.
We build excitement. Pontiac.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
Holy smokes, what is this?
It's a Pontiac Fiero GT.
Good night, Irene. What is that?
My new Firebird Trans Am. Can you dig it?
Yes, I can, dude. Don't tell me you got a Pontiac, too.
Sunbird Turbo.
Oh, out of sight.
Yeah, it's really fun to drive if you're into Pontiac.
No problem. That's my Pontiac.
We feel inside red Pontiac.
Due to time restraints and considerations, we will now move further ahead in this program.
Point where Bryce Cobb has used slower traffic to open up his lead a little bit over Jochen Maas, but he's got more traffic in front of him. He dives underneath Steve Durst. Now, we talked with Tom Blackalder a moment ago. Look what happens when you give another guy the keys. Watch the car in a million pictures. Bob Lesnick goes, whoa, I thought the turn was right around here somewhere. So he pulls it over, parks it, checks all the gauges. Okay, everything's okay. Clear traffic, I'll get back out again. Bob Lesnick out of Sonoma, California, showing the folks a little different line up there in turn 2. And here is Jochen Maas, who's got a very slow Don Bell in front of him and a Steve Durst behind him. There you see the number 30 Buick Marge. Whitney Gantz from Laguna Niguel, California, now behind the wheel. Now here you see Maas once again up front. We understand now that Bob Lesnick, yeah, there he is parking Tom Blackalder's team car. A motor problem, they're saying now, with the Mazda engine of that Tiger. They're going to take off the hood, and that usually means something wrong with the mechanicals. Very tidy little Campbell Lights cars. Fuel pickup problem. Apparently, they have plenty of fuel. They just can't get it to the engine. Now, you take a close look. There's a very distinctive pit setup here at Sears Point. And for more on that, let's go down to Gary Lee.
Well, Bob, in this day and age of temporary road courses, this is one of the newest permanent road courses. It was built back in 1968, refurbished with a repaving job in 1985, and it has a very unique pit area because over here on this side, we have the hot front straightaway. That is the racetrack. So all the crews have their individual timing and scoring stands facing that direction. However, this is the actual pit road over here. So all the crew members and all the extra equipment are positioned over here. Now, it makes for a very interesting traffic pattern because as a car drops out of the race and the crew then removes all their equipment back to the paddock area to the haulers, they actually cross the pit area. So it makes it for a very difficult exit. And right now, we're kind of stuck here until the race is over.
Marooned in the pits. Thank you, Gary. Bryce Cobb continues to lead up front. I know when the stock cars come here, they're required to change where they fuel the cars. Normally on the oval tracks where they run counterclockwise, they fuel on the pit side away from the track. When they come to Sears Point, they have to turn that around and fuel from the right side of the car as they do at Riverside, California, because of the location of the pit wall and the fact that they're running in a clockwise direction.
We go to so many different circuits and run so many different directions. That's why most of our cars actually they'll have an outlet there on each side of the car so that you can put the fuel in from either side.
And Bryce Cobb using his fuel to lead the race at this point. We'll take a look at the top 10 with 63 laps complete, working the 64th of a scheduled 75 here at Sears Point. Cobb is your leader. Jochen Maas behind in a Porsche. Cyril van der Merwe has the Corvette, still a solid third. John Hotchkiss in the number 10 Wins Porsche has now moved back into fourth ahead of Jeff Klein. Camel Lights breaking into the top 5. Hurley Haywood doing well in 6th place. Whitney Gantz has the Buick behind. Camel Lights fill out the top 10, and we'll be right back.
Learn to play tennis or play like the pros with the all-new internationally used Tennis Partner. Now, for the first time in the United States, Tennis Partner can help you improve your game, sharpen your skills, or just increase your health and stamina. You can play singles or doubles, and no matter what shots you practice, your tennis ball will always return to you. Tennis Partner is used by pros and amateurs alike, so whether you're 7 or 70, you can get into the swing of tennis. Your Tennis Partner includes a long-life tennis ball, anchor with braided nylon tether, 2 super-strength elastic extenders, plus a full instruction booklet with tips from the pros. Order today and receive free the official Tennis Partner headband.
Thanks, Tennis Partner.
To order your Tennis Partner, have your Visa or MasterCard ready and call 266-4942. That's 266-4942. Or send check or money order for only $14.95 plus $3 for postage and handling to Tennis Partner, 1101 Cobb Parkway, Marietta, Georgia, 30062.
Kleiner GTI uses prima aus.
To all the cars that try to perform like a Volkswagen GTI, and try to handle like a Volkswagen GTI, and try to be as much fun, we have some bad news. We just made Follow the Leader a little harder to play. Introducing the 16-valve Volkswagen GTI.
Put some kick in your Sunday nights. Pro football never looked so good. The NFL comes to ESPN live this fall. Cable TV is your ticket to the NFL when the Chicago Bears tackle the Miami Dolphins. Sunday, August 16th. The NFL live on ESPN.
Back at Sears Point, you're watching live, and the advantage shared by Price Cobb or enjoyed by Price Cobb has almost completely dried up. There you see the number 86 Porsche of Jochen Maas, who is right behind Price Cobb and looking for the lead as the laps start to dwindle here at Sears Point. We are working lap 65. That means 10 to go, and Price Cobb has all that he can handle right now with Jochen Maas, the endurance veteran who's raced with the likes of Jackie Ixon, Derek Bell, and Bob Wallach. Now drawing a bead on Price Cobb here in the Ford California Camel Grand Prix.
We've got no advantage from a driver fitness standpoint because both drivers have been it the whole time.
And right out in front of Cobb, you see another Porsche. Now that is Hurley Haywood, who is driving the other Bayside Motorsports car, so he is technically Jochen Maas's teammate at this point. I'm wondering if maybe, oh, no, that answers my question. Move aside, Hurley, we're coming through. So, no team play there as Hurley Haywood lets Price Cobb and his teammate Jochen Maas come right through, and Maas tries underneath. Lynn, I'm thinking that's where Maas is going to try to get him. I'll just predict that right now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, Price has been consistent on his line, and it's a wide line, and Maas has been consistent on his line, and it's a narrow inside line. So I would definitely think that you're going to see it that place, and that's a great place to do it because you can't do anything past that, and then that would set up a perfect at the very end of this straightaway that they're going into right now. As you go down to turn 11, that's the second place that you can dive in and make the pass.
Now let's see if Price goes as wide. I'm saying that Jochen Maas is going to try, everybody's got to put themselves on the line here, and I'll ask Marty Reed and Gary Lee to do the same. I'm saying Jochen Maas is going to try Price Cobb in turn number 7 and go ahead to win the race. Lynn?
I say that he's going to do, unfortunately, I got to agree with you. I think he's going to win the race, and I think that's where he's going to make his pass.
Gary Lee, how about you down in the pits?
It would be all too obvious to pick one of the two guys running 1 and 2, so I'll take Cyril in the vet because he's fresher.
Okay, Marty Reed standing by. Who's your pick?
Well, I'll stay with Price Cobb just because nobody else seems to want to take him right now, but I think he's got enough chance. I'd always like to be in the lead in this situation rather than be in the pursuer.
Boy, there's expertise for you. You guys pick one guy, so I'll just pick the other guy. Okay, so votes for Jochen Maas, Price Cobb, and Cyril Vandermeer in third place. And Cobb beginning to stretch that lead a little bit. Here's where I say the pass was going to come, if it comes at all, as Price Cobb, watch him take a very wide line. Looks just about Porsche size to me. 10 laps remaining here at Sears Point. If Jochen Maas is going to do it, he's going to have to do it soon. Remember, both cars pitted about the same time under that long caution flag as a result of the terrific accident that Bob Wallach suffered a broken shoulder in. So both have tires, they both have fuel, and it's just going to be a question of driver ability and whether one can snooker the other.
You know, in motor racing, we don't have many opportunities where you really get to feel a one-on-one comparison of what's happening. You know, the fight out there as you do in tennis and boxing where you go one up against somebody else. And really, this is what we've got. We had it at Portland last weekend, and we have it here now.
who decided he didn't want to live in Dallas, Texas. Whoa, we got a fire on the racetrack. This is Steve Durst, the 09 Pontiac Fiero, and he is out in a hurry. He's got to get his cool suit unplugged, and you see him struggling with it as he gets the straps loose and dives out of that race car.
He may have been overcome by those fumes inside the car.
You see the black smoke from that car, and he may have hurt himself trying to get out of the car. Perhaps it's just, as you say, Lynn, just the fumes.
If that was the part of the fire extinguisher on board, if he hit the onboard fire extinguisher as well, I'll tell you, the fumes from that sometimes can make you sicker than the fumes from the fire. I've had a few opportunities, unfortunately, to be in a car that's had fire, and one of the things, in fact, I did it at Riverside, is instantly say to yourself, don't breathe, so you don't breathe in those fumes.
Well, you see where the action is taking place just on the short straightaway that becomes the entrance to turn number 7, and the leaders continue to battle as the firefighters are on the scene to help Steve Durst try to get that car back in shape.
You notice those leaders never bobbled. They went in and they did the exact same lines that they've been taking through those turns, but there was never a hesitation.
I noticed the color of the helmet there. Now, Steve Durst and Mike Brockman have somewhat similar helmets. I'm not sure that wasn't Brockman that got out of the car. I didn't notice a driver change in the pits, but Durst was planning to go the whole way, so we'll say that is Steve Durst, although the uniforms are the same. That might have been Mike Brockman. I don't know which, and I don't want to mislead anybody. But right now, he got out of the car, and he appeared to be all right. But all that black smoke means something important is burning.
They had a fuel leak or that fuel problem. It could also have been something to do with that. Well, Jochen got a little bit squirrely there, and he keeps sitting the inside of that curve. I'm not going to criticize him anymore for it because he's been doing it the whole race, and obviously it's paying off.
Once again, Bryce Cobb extends the lead a little bit as Jochen Maas continues to stalk him. We're coming up to 8 laps to go here at Sears Point. Your leader remains Bryce Cobb, lapping at about 1 minute 29 seconds and change. That's been just about the speed, very consistent laps throughout the race. All of the green flag laps by whichever of the 4 leaders we've had.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I saw Jochen just was carrying more momentum coming down the carousel. This is the turn he wants to make the pass in, and he's going to do it. I saw him taking that coming down there.
All right, Lynn, good call. You're excited. You race drivers get excited about this stuff, and with good reason, as Jochen Maas takes over the lead once again, and now Bryce Cobb is going to have to try to return the favor.
Jochen is driving that car so hard, it seems he was going through those S's, those high-speed S's there.
Let's take another look at it, and Lynn, call it once again.
Well, as you see him coming, well, you don't see him come down the carousel, but when he came down the carousel, he just had more power, more momentum, which means he's going to have that advantage of that momentum at the end of that straightaway. That's that closing speed you're talking about. That was the momentum he had coming in the turn before. He has the inside line. That's the line he's been taking the whole time anyway. So that's he didn't have to change his rhythm or his setup. He's been doing that all day, so that was something that was comfortable to him. He took that momentum and took advantage of it.
And now Jochen Maas opens up a big lead over Bryce Cobb. I may have called this one right after all. You saw the turbocharger exhaust their flame, which showed that both drivers spewed flame and both shipped at the same time. And I'm speaking quickly because I thought I saw what looked like a red and white Pontiac Fiero parked back there. Could that have been Jeff Klein? Let's take a look back and see who that car was. There was a driver walking away from it, and if so, that would mean the leader in the Camel Lights class is out of the race. As you watch the battle up front continuing, Bryce Cobb, and there it is. That's the 79 car. Jeff Klein is lying in the grass over there to the left, or kneeling at least. It looks like he is okay, but the car is not, and that means that your Camel Lights lead has exchanged, and your leader will be Chip Meade in a Fab car. Let's take another look now and see if we can pick up what happened to Jeff Klein, who's already gone out of the picture to the left. He goes right off the racetrack.
He just pulled off the racetrack. He probably had something wrong with the engine or something and was just pulling it off in a safe place.
Guy in this race. I work hard at it, and I think if it comes down to pure driver stamina, I'm going to win this race in Camel Lights. But it looks like perhaps his mount failed him. Now, right now, here you see, as Jochen Maas, your leader, has Bryce Cobb all over him again. Now, here's something that happened to them moments ago as Jochen, whoa, got underneath. That's the number 10, Jim Adams, in the 4th place car in the race.
That's that same turn 7, and Jochen was, carrying a lot more momentum into that corner. He was, again, the inside line, but he was fortunate when he made that impact. Both cars were pointed in the same direction, so that it shouldn't have upset or hurt the car at all.
And you saw the bodywork shudder there on the car.
You can see it bouncing there.
Yeah, and now they have parked. Jim Adams has brought in the number 10 Porsche. He obviously took a much more severe shot than Jochen and perhaps broke something, or at least he wanted to come in and get it checked before it went back out. Now the gap from second to third. That is from Bryce Kopp back to Sarah Vandermeer. The Corvette is over a minute, so those guys have some time to make these kind of defensive adjustments, but looks like he's got steering problems now in that car. Maybe a suspension problem being suffered by Jim Adams in the number 10 Porsche 962.
I think he was just coming out of the pits and was going to start to go over to the line and realize that he should stay inside.
Okay, coming up quickly now, next on ESPN, the Budweiser Spirit of Detroit Unlimited Hydroplane race will be shown after we get through here, but we're live from Sears Point. We're going to carry this one through to the finish, the Ford California Camel Grand Prix. There is your leader, Jochen Mass, and the door is flapping open on the left side. So we'll have to see if that nick causes problems for Jochen Mass, who retains the lead as Bryce Kopp fights his way around the number 30 Buick of Whitney Gantz. Let's take a closer look now as he goes by. Definite passenger side damage to that car.
Yeah, the latch is not holding the door down, but fortunately this is not a real high-speed racetrack. If he were at Daytona, that could be a real problem, but here I don't think it's going to be a problem with the few laps left.
Now, Bryce Kopp certainly knows what's happened up in front of him. He was there to see it happen, and he knows that if he can just get that extra bit of speed out of his car, he may be in shape to take over the lead from Jochen Mass. But right now, he's really going to have to drive hard. We see 5 laps remaining here at Sears, and Bryce Kopp is trying to run down the battered machine of Jochen Mass.
He's trying hard, but I sense he's just a little ragged out there. I don't know if it's his tires are going away. You know, I don't want to call fatigue, but he just seems a little more ragged. Of course, he's also pressing harder because he's now the pursuer rather than being the pursuee.
Recall yesterday's race here at Sears Point, the GTO battle. Jack Baldwin trying to run down the Chevy Corvette of Greg Pickett. Pickett was in great shape, and then suddenly with just 4 laps to go, he began to wobble. He spun the car up in turn 2 on top of the hill. Jack Baldwin inherited the lead and the victory. Now there is your new leader in Camel Lights as a result of what happened to Jeff Klein. Chip Meade out of St. Simon's Island, Georgia, is in position to pick up another victory on the Camel Lights trail, and that would be very good for his chances of overhauling Jim Downing at the head of Camel Light points. Chip Meade lost 3rd place in the standings to Steve Durst at Portland last week. Meade has 124 points, which puts him some 17 behind Jim Downing. Downing's still in the race here as well, but Chip Meade looking at a possible victory, and boy, it would be a big one for that Fab Car Porsche team. Downing driving the car, that's Chip Meade driving the car very hard, as you can see as he wiggled over the top of the hill where Lynn said the car gets very light. And now here up front, we see that Jochen Mass, with that battered bodywork on his Porsche, is still able to open a larger lead. So Jochen Mass has plenty of race car left in the closing laps here at Sears. A little bit of a twitch there. He's still having to work to stay out front, but
believe me, if you're going to turn 128 and 129 lap times here, you're working all the time. So
especially when you've got bodywork flapping all over the left side of your car.
It never gets easy.
We pointed out earlier that in limited action this year, Jochen Mass has done very well coming into this race in 6th place in points with 2 victories. And there's Bob Letznet. That's Tom Blackaller's team car. And apparently the motor problem that brought him into the pits twice is somewhat terminal. There you see Jeff Klein getting a little extra work on his tan, just waiting for someone to come out and pick him up. With just a couple of laps left, may as well sit there and contemplate what might have been. And here is your leader, the number 86 Bayside Porsche, for the most successful Porsche team on the series this year, Bruce Levin's Bayside Motorsports team. Once more down the short chute into turn 11. This, I think, Lynn, is where that broken bodywork might hurt him the most. When he needs that downforce, get the car slow to get through that turn.
It's really it's the top area where that collar is loose, and I just somehow think at this racetrack that's not going to hinder him that much.
There have been 3 other victories for the Bayside Motorsports team this year. This would be the 3rd win of the year for Jochen Mass. In fact, there's only 1 race that he has come to and finished anything other than 1st, and that was at Miami earlier this year, where he co-drove with Bobby Rahal, and they finished 2nd. So Jochen Mass continues to lead the way as Bryce Kopp apparently not able to cut into that lead. Keep in mind, in addition to driver championships and the manufacturer's championship, which has already been clinched by Porsche, there is what's known as the Porsche Cup of North America, honoring the most successful Porsche drivers in any class of racing throughout the year. And right now,
Just happened to. I'm sorry, just happened to see him flick his lights, which we had also have last week. Bobby Rahal was using his lights a lot. The European drivers tend to do that a lot more, but he was coming up on that light car and just did a little flick of the light.
Just wanted him to know that he was coming up behind him. Now, Marty Reed has more from the pits.
The Price Cobb machine may be on its last hurrah, guys. Talked to Pat Smith, the crew chief for the team, and he says it has developed a miss, and the tires have gone away. Between the two, they don't think they can catch him.
Well, right now, Price Cobb then is struggling. He is up, running way up over his previous times. He was running 132 and more, so he is not apparently going to be able to overhaul Jochen Mass. I mentioned the Porsche Cup before as we watched the Bayside team flashing numbers to Jochen Mass. Price Cobb, with that second place, will retain a lead in the prestigious Porsche Cup over Chip Robinson, who dropped out of the race after leading early. Price Cobb will take about a 36-point lead over Cobb in a chase for that Porsche driving title as well. But Cobb does manage to close ground with a second place today. Price, who is battling Chip Robinson for the Drivers' Championship, will move up 146 to 126, a 20-point gap between Chip Robinson and Price Cobb. So stay with us through the remaining Camel GT races of the year here on ESPN. It's going to be a great championship stretch run between Chip Robinson and Price Cobb in the GTP ranks. Don't forget, 4 or 5 guys all have a shot at it at Camel Lights, not the least of which is Chip Meade, who appears poised to take another victory for his team, the 4th of the year for the Porsche Fab Car team in the Camel Lights category.
If he gets that victory, I think that he'll move him up to probably second place, because Downing is still running and will earn some points. So I think that'll move him from 4th to 2nd in the championship.
Jim Downing has been running a very quiet race thus far. We had him shown last in 2nd place in class, running a 9th place overall. Now we're looking for Price Cobb to see the interval that Jochen Mass has been able to develop over him. There you saw the Cat's car coming through. This, I believe, no, that's the number 42 Porsche Fab Car being driven by Tom Phillips. And there is Price Cobb. Marty Reed mentioned he has dropped way back. He is simply nursing that Porsche now as you see him drop right past Tom Phillips. But as fast as he's going, Price Cobb seems to have no chance of catching this guy, Jochen Mass. And what a race it must have been for Mass. On his final lap now, halfway through the race, he watched as his great personal friend and teammate, Bob Wallach, suffered a tremendous crash in the BF Goodrich car. By now, hopefully, Jochen knows that his teammate is all right. And then with a dramatic pass of Price Cobb, Jochen Mass appears about to take his 3rd victory of the Camel GT season.
Even though he knows he has it and he's hitting every line perfectly clean. I mean, he is not, you know, he's not backing off in that sense. He's absolutely on the apex and on that perfect line all the way around the racetrack.
Jochen Mass from Monte Carlo, originally from West Germany, a tax exile living in Monte Carlo on a sailboat. Enjoying every minute of it, no doubt. You see, he's also lost the headlight cover from that right corner after that little schmozzle with Jim Adams of a number 10 Porsche. But right now, you see the signs. They're speaking the language that Jochen Mass knows well. Big bucks coming up. A $25,000 first prize in store. Keep in mind there was also a bonus for first-time winners that Jochen Mass is not eligible for. So come our next race at San Antonio, Texas, a few weeks down the road, there could be a great bonus in store for a first-time winner, and that includes cars like the Bundy Vandermerve Corvette. A $25,000 check awaits at the finish line as Jochen Mass turns it out of 11 one more time, down across the start-finish stripe, and there is the checkered flag. What I'm sure has been a bittersweet race as Bruce Levin looks on the left, his son Mike on the right, and a very happy Bayside Motorsports team. Here comes the Porsche Fab Car, Chip Meade of St. Simon's Island. Part-time race driver, part-time real estate developer. Another victory for the Porsche Fab Car team out of Tucker, Georgia. The cars maintained in the Stuttgart Automotive Shops in Dayton, Ohio. So a Porsche clean sweep today, the overall GTP victory and the Camel Lights victory as you watch the happy victor, Jochen Mass, circulating on his victory.
Nelson's Brazilian countryman after Senna, still looking for